Welcome to another science class. Today we'll be talking about ions, cations, anions, and atomic charge. Let's get started. To review, an atom is the smallest unit of matter. Atoms are made of three subatomic particles: protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons are subatomic particles with a positive charge and a mass of 1 atomic mass unit. Neutrons are subatomic particles with a neutral charge and the same mass as a proton. And electrons are subatomic particles with a negative charge and are much smaller than protons and neutrons. All the elements shown in the periodic table of elements are neutral, which means there are an equal number of protons as there are electrons. The positively charged protons are balanced by the electrons' negative charges. Often, atoms lose or gain electrons, which causes an imbalance in the number of protons and electrons, which causes the atom to become charged. These charged atoms are called ions. Ions are charged atoms or molecules. Ions have chemical properties which allow them to bond and form molecules and compounds, like salt. Ions can hold either a positive or a negative charge. Ions with a negative charge are called anions. Anions are negatively charged ions. Anions can form when an atom receives an electron from another atom or molecule. Anions have more electrons, which are negatively charged, than protons, which are positive. This creates a negative charge and allows anions to attract or interact with positive ions, which are called cations. Like magnets, positively charged particles attract negatively charged particles. You can see in this diagram that the sodium atom becomes a sodium ion and the fluoride atom becomes a fluoride ion. A cation is a positively charged atom or molecule. Cations are formed when elements, atoms, or molecules lose one or more electrons. This might seem backwards because losing something doesn't always sound like it would make a positive outcome, but since electrons are negatively charged, when an element loses an electron, it becomes less negative and more positive. One common cation is sodium. Sodium atoms easily give one electron to become a +1 cation. The diagram of the neutral sodium atom on the left has 11 electrons. When sodium loses an electron, it becomes a +1 cation, like the diagram on the right. The +1 sodium cation has 10 electrons, so it is smaller than when it had 11 electrons. +1 or -1 shows the charge, and in this case it is positive, and there is one less electron than there are protons. Ions can be represented by the symbol or formula with the amount of charge written after a symbol or formula as seen in the following picture. You can see by this table that potassium has a +1 charge and is written as the atomic symbol plus the plus symbol. Oxygen has a -2 charge, so you would write O2 with a negative afterwards to show which charge direction is going, positive or negative. And hydrogen +1 turns into H+. One way to remember cations are positive is by replacing the T with a plus sign, which would make it look like Ca+ ion. But my favorite way to remember is to think of cations as a happy cat, a positive ion, and anions as grumpy onions, or negative ions. So here you can see that this atom is a cat, which is positive, and kind of a grumpy onion. Ions are everywhere, in living things, rocks, and earth, and in food. Living things need ions to survive. The human nervous system depends on potassium and sodium cations traveling through our nerve cells. The body uses magnesium cations for metabolizing food, and our bones need calcium ions to be strong, and of course our blood cells use iron to transport oxygen. Salts are molecules that dissolve easily in water, separating back into anions and cations. In a solution like water, these ions are called electrolytes, which means can carry electricity. The human body needs electrolytes to function. We use ionic compounds to stay safe outside too. Sunscreen often includes titanium oxide, which is a white UV blocking ionic compound made of titanium +4 cations bonded to oxygen ions. And ions in many other forms exist, including hydrogen and oxygen, which we need to survive. And to sum it up, ions are charged atoms or molecules. Anions are negatively charged ions. Cations are positively charged atoms or molecules. Ions are charged based on the loss or gain of electrons, and ions play important physiological roles in the lives of living things. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.